Welcome to the Careers in Music podcast. My name is Caleb J. Murphy. In this episode, we have Gordon Raphael, an engineer, musician, and producer. He discovered the Strokes and recorded their first EP and subsequent first two albums. He also produced Regina Spektor's album Soviet Kitsch. On top of these accolades, he's recorded 20 albums of his own music, produced over 200 bands, and wrote a book called The World Is Going to Love This, Up from the Basement with the Strokes. We talked about what he learned working with the Strokes, the humanness of music, and how aspiring engineers and producers can get started. Let's get into it. In working with the Strokes, was there maybe a most important lesson you learned as an engineer or producer?
That's a very good one. Well, first of all, did you know I made a book? Yes, I wrote a book during the pandemic. It's called Up from the Basement. The World Is Going to Love This, and it's all about the Strokes. And I talk about all these different things in there. So very detailed stuff about what we're going to talk about is in my book, in case anybody wants to find it. Yeah, the most important lesson I learned, there were two, now that you made me focus on it. The first one happened when they first hired me to make a series of demos. They wanted to do a 3-song, 3-day, three demo deal. It was just to get more action in the clubs of New York. Of course, later it got released by Rough Trade and started the whole thing. But I wasn't used to bands working quite as hard as they. So, I've done a lot of recording in New York at that time, a couple years, band after band. And, most people had the attitude where they try, they do their best. And, if it was close, that's cool. We could edit something. We could, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not rocket science. Close enough for jazz. The people were really kind of looser than they were. They were extremely strict with how everything should be. Like if there was one note on the bass that was quieter than other notes, I had to go do the job of making each note the same volume. Oh, that G string is significantly quieter than the E string. Can you make it so they match every time he plays on the E string? Okay, yeah. Things like that. So at the end of 3 days of working with them, they came on a Friday, Saturday, by Sunday night, man, I was pretty cooked. I'm used to working hard. I've got a lot of energy, especially back then. I still do, but then I was really, really just tearing at it. And I had pretty much enough of their, wow, every single detail and so much effort onto each song. And when we were just about finished the last mix, and I was dying to go home, dying to sleep, it was late at night after 3 long days, Julian said, "Hey, Gordon, on that chorus, I think that my voice could be a little quieter." And I said, "Julian, we've gone back and forth about this already so many times." He said, "Just turn it up. What's the smallest amount Pro Tools can go?" And I said, "1/10 of a decibel." He said, "Yeah, put it up 1/10 of a decibel." And I said, "You'll never hear that." I was just angry, and just to humor him, I put it up 1/10 of a decibel and I pushed play, and I had a bit of a problem at that point because I noticed it sounded a little bit better. And he was right. And I didn't know if me being older and more experienced than them, I should just say see, there's no difference. Or if I should say, eat my humble pie and say that, you know what? You're right. It does sound better. Good job, dude. 23-year-old kid. Good job, showing me up like that. And I said, yeah, you're right. It is good. And you're right. And I learned not to second guess people. And if they have an idea, no matter how tired I am, try their idea and don't just dismiss it because I think I know better. That was a huge lesson.
Yeah. No, that's a great lesson. And then, so on that, how do you balance doing all of those detailed steps and being so meticulous with knowing when to move on to the next thing?
Well, when I want to move on to the next thing, in this case, oftentimes it's not as like I'd say 99.9% of the time I don't have to work as hard and I don't have five detailed or five of them. There's just not it wasn't just one. Every single one in the band and their guru had things to say about every hi-hat hit, every tone, every frequency. So it was like five people shooting at me every time we worked together, which I learned to love. I learned that this is how we get the perfection that they're looking for, right? So many times me and the band know when it's time to move on, and it's much earlier than that. But in the case where the band really wants me to go the extra mile all the time, it's really up to them if it's right. I can't tell them it's good enough. It sounds fine, dude. I'm not here to sell them my view of what sounds fine. I'm here to let them hear their ideas, and they're hiring me to work on their music. So no matter how tired I am, or if we need an extra day or an extra hour, or if I just need to be more patient, I'm gonna have to go in the trenches with them.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So, as an aspiring engineer or producer, you can learn all the basics online, but what is something you never see people talk about that we should be talking about when it comes to like recording or producing or mixing?
The nuts and bolts of it. Like, I didn't have YouTube and I didn't have tutors. I had one friend of mine who taught himself how to record on a 4-track with a little mixer and some microphone, and he did such incredible stuff that I wanted to learn how to do that. So I just set out on my own. And the thing that people don't talk about is if you have some software on your computer that can record and you have a microphone and you have a guitar or you have whatever you do have, set about making some recordings that blow your own mind. Set about showing yourself what's so fun, useful, and cool about any of these processes, like where you put the mic. You could put it right up to your mouth and scream your bloody head off and try to just make the worst distortion and the sickest, most disturbing sound possible. And if that's what you're into, do it well and, make something so that not only when you hear it, eventually you have to impress yourself. You have to go, I can record an acoustic guitar. I can program drums. I can mix, thing. I can, you've got to get to the point where you're confident and you're impressed with your own abilities, and then showing it to other people. And they go, wow, you did that at home, or you made that song. You're getting all this kind of interaction first and approval. And that gives you the energy and confidence to like, well, what do I want to do now? Well, in my case, I only wanted to work on my own music. That was my goal. But someone else might say, I want to go to the nightclubs and I want to talk to bands that I like in the style that I like and convince them to come to my house or take me to a studio, or I'll bring stuff to their practice room. Like there's like a system of learning the basics on your own, digging what you're doing, and then going out and finding a way to apply that in the world that is fun for yourself.
Yeah, so just do it and then show other people and take
Yeah.
feedback and yeah.
Get good at it, in your own mind, accomplish like I know what this microphone can do, I know I can put it anywhere in the room and make weird sound, just like getting knowledge and experience and remembering what sounds cool. And I'm going to explore these echo plugins and find out what the hell they do. And what happens if you put one on one side and the other on the other, or use the same program and split half of it and have it silent on one side. There's so much to experiment with and so much fun to be had, really. I had so much fun learning. It was frustrating as well as enjoyable. Like it was fun making cool sounds and getting the hang of it, but with tape, I accidentally erased things, or wires wouldn't work, and I had to find out which cable was preventing my guitar from going through the pathway. All that stuff really frustrated me and made me like get angry and upset, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. And then, well, the more you do it, I'm guessing the the more you get in touch with that feeling of like, oh, this is done.
Hmm.
Do you think that's pretty accurate? Like you just have to kind of
Yeah.
learn
Not,
that?
not only this is done, but even on the way to being done, like this is cool and it's worth pursuing. This thing I just did with my voice and these words I wrote down, That is so cool. I'm gonna like make sure each word is said the right way. Like, you know, the enjoyment and the coolness factor is important.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to hear your thoughts on this, but I would say that's probably like the most important part is like the process of doing the music. That's
Yeah.
why people do it.
Yeah. You can't guarantee that your song will go on the radio, but you can guarantee that if we put some hours in with these mics and these people and try something that something's going to happen. We're going to create something and
Hmm.
it's with these group of people and this group of equipment, it could be really worthwhile.
Yeah. So then what's your take on artificial intelligence music where people can kind of cut out a lot of those steps?
To be completely honest with you, I have not gone there. I have not gone there with my interest or my listening. I think someone one time sent me, "Hey, listen to this. It's a Kurt Cobain song done by AI." And I listened. I said, "That's not a Kurt Cobain song." There's something about it reminiscent of something, but that's like, maybe they've got it better. Maybe it's really gonna do something, but I don't know. I'm so fascinated by human music and the thing about music that kills me is hearing an experience and a story turned into music. Like what happened to this person? Why are they that way? It's nothing to do with the technical chord structure or the production sounds, the things that AI can get. You know, AI would have to convince me that it had a little struggle that no one else had and it wants to tell me about this in a very clever way. I would pick up on if that was the case, I'd probably pick, whoa, that's really interesting. What a beautiful story, like,
Hmm. Yeah,
yeah.
but AI can't be a human. So like, yeah, I see.
Well, maybe it'll pick up on why people like music and give them not only the notes, the tones, the timbres, and the structures, but maybe it will like, oh, humans like music because it triggers this inside of their memories and their emotions. Like when it gets like that, wow, that could be interesting. But I have never clicked on an AI anything knowingly. Except for like now when I click on Google to find out like what has more vitamins, this orange or this lemon, AI overview. I see an AI that has entered my life in the last year that wasn't there before. And I don't know if there's something I could turn off, but it's kind of useful. It seems like generally useful.
Hmm. Do you have any interest in like exploring the world of AI in music, or you just kind of?
I think that if I'm going to spend some time with music, I got to sit down and get serious about why am I doing music and what story do I need to tell, right? I told a lot of stories in my hundreds of songs that I wrote all along up till now. But I just want to know, like, what do I need to tell the world, and how am I going to do it? And the instruments and sounds that were cool to me when I was 19 and 20, I don't think that's necessary anymore. I don't think I need to recreate the things that I used to like. But now I'm trying to think like, what would the music from me now sound like? And it means kind of for me and my point of view, it's like not using the same tried and true starting points, sounds, textures, rhythms, styles, added like what else is new? That's a big challenge. That's enough of a challenge for me to think about artistically than any other single issue. I don't want to say, well, I don't really know what I want to do, so I think I'll have AI write a song. Like, I don't need a new song, but I wonder what the next new song would be to come out of me, and I got to figure that out.
Hey, just going to interrupt real quick to say that if you want to learn how to start your career in the music industry with guidance from experts who are doing what you want to do, make sure you check out careersinmusic.com. Okay, back to the conversation. So I want to talk about DAWs.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I'm wondering if you have any take on the big debate of what's the best DAW.
I have a couple thoughts. For some reason, I believe that when you do the job that I mostly do, which is go in a studio and set up about 18 or 19 microphones all at the same time, going through killer preamps and some compressors and there's 10 on the drums and there's 2 on each guitar and 2 on the bass, no DI, some in the room in different positions. And I want to get my sounds, and once I get my sounds, I want the band to just do take after take after take until they're ready. And then when they tell me that on take one, they want the first third, take two, the second third, and take five, the last part. I want to use Pro Tools to keep it really rock solid. And I want to just like do it fast as lightning so they never see me. They never are waiting. As soon as they say something, I just go chop, 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 boop, 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 crossfade. And I go, listen, can you hear the crossfade? Can you hear the tempos change? Is there anything that you don't like? Close your eyes and listen to that and tell me if that's transition from part one of an hour ago to part two of just now, like sounds like it's really music. And like that, Pro Tools is brilliant at it. Another thing I like about Pro Tools is, at least for the systems that I use, the converters are kind of built into the software. Like the converters talk to the software through cards, and in a way, I never have to open the converter software and set levels and then go back to my recording and reset level. Like it's all, again, flawless and seamless, and nobody ever sees it. I don't even see the converter unless there's something broken on a mic channel. I notice it's not firing. But something about the no latency and the converter built into like made by the same company as the software, the Avid 16IO and the Pro Tools HDX, the way they talk to each other for 25 or I don't know, 25, 28 years now. It never lets me down. It just like records and records and edits and goes and is never, sorry, is there latency? Sorry, I gotta restart. Or, oh, the computer is like, maybe the computer crashes occasionally every now and then. But it's so rare and I just feel so confident about it. On the other hand, if I was doing software sequencing and lots of soft synths and lots of programming, I don't think I would touch Pro Tool unless like to turn it into audio to work with band tracks or something. There's so much better stuff. Like Logic was doing MIDI shit decades before Pro Tools ever got even like smooth with it. So I think that Logic is very good for combining audio. I don't like the way it handles audio, to be honest with you, for my job, like doing singers and replacing notes. Like Pro Tools is so fast, and Logic makes you like open up these sub tracks and kind of do sub edits and then move it into all these extra, anything that's an extra button push or even one extra finger on a key. For me, it's slowing me down and it's costing the band money. So as few button pushes as I can do to get the job done, I love it. But so I say that Logic is great for programming synths and doing MIDI. And then people who do non-song form stuff, like dance music and where they want to be spontaneous, like obviously Ableton invented something that's unbelievable that Pro Tools can't do. Like, I'm just going to throw samples into this thing and it's going to put it in the right key and the right time, and I can just do it on the fly and make spontaneous music that lasts for 20 minutes, Like, I wouldn't want to do that on Pro Tools. You'd be crying. So Ableton is brilliant on that. And then I have to say that some of the most innovative music I have heard in the past 20 years has been on FL Studio. Those underground hip hop programmers just doing crazy. I wouldn't know how to do that. I have no idea what they're doing, but you can bet I go to the YouTube tutorial to watch those producers say like, then I cook this up, all this cooking up and all this, what they call a beat is what we used to call a song, and this stuff, I just love that world. And FL Studio seems to be the proud sponsor of all of that kind of music. So there's 4 DAWs I talked about that have strengths.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, in your line of work, you also like you have to be quick because, inspiration. You got to get the inspiration while it's there, and like when an artist has an idea, right? You got to capture it.
Yeah, and part of it also is that from recording music since I was a teenager in different, my own stuff and other bands, like I just got it down to like really fast lightning. Like I have a lightning technique, which means that a band can come in the studio with me, and this happens quite frequently, and they leave with two, four, or nine songs in one single day. And we have to touch up the mixes, but even the mixes are pretty damn good. And, you know, I think that's very unusual. And the reason is because I figured out everything to save people time. So I can charge a higher day rate to keep myself going in the music industry and keep myself, going well financially. But at the same time, the band gets two, four, or nine songs at the end of a day, and they go like, "Hey, those songs only cost us a couple $100 to do each one." And listen, like it's the Gordon Raphael sound, and it's really cool. We didn't rush anything, you know. So yeah, my DAW usage and microphone choice and preamps and my pre-setup before the band comes, all of that is designed so there's no monkey business and there's no back and forth. And maybe I got six mics on this amp, and later we're going to choose which two are the best. No fucking way. There is no later because you don't want to pay me for later. And I don't even have the patience for later. I just want to get it right now. And if you don't like it, we'll make it better. We'll fix it right now. And we won't do anything later.
Yeah. So basically, learn if you want to be an engineer, learn your DAW is what it sounds like you're saying.
Learn everything. First, it's really hard to figure out what you want to do. Like, what do you want to do? You want to make commercials? You want to use software synthesizers and do film soundtrack? Like, everybody has a different thing that they're ultimately after. At one point in my career, I wanted to go to see rock bands in the East Village in New York and go up to them and hand them a business card. And I had a really cool studio in that neighborhood, and they could come over and record stuff with me. And I hoped that they would be so happy that they would tell their friends and more people would come. Like that was a goal of mine at a certain period of my life. And so I did that. I went out to clubs and tried to hustle bands to come back and record with me the next day or the next week. So it's all about your goals and then developing skills and confidence so that you can just really deliver whatever you say and suggest. If someone says, "Okay, let's try it," give them a good experience and a good result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have any specific tricks that you use in your DAW that you think maybe other people could benefit from?
No, my tricks, I mean, my tricks are with the people and their psychology. And like, for example, when I record a band, I want them to stand in a circle with all their amps in the same room, just like a practice. And I want them to not wear headphones unless they need a click track. Half of the bands do, and half the bands. So they're just standing around in a room with loud amps and drums, looking at their friends and going one, two, three, four, and they play the music. And I've got it so it sounds like a studio recording, but to them it feels like they're just playing their music another day with their pals. That is something my specialty. That's when I learned. And of course, my DAW is working behind the scene. They don't see my DAW. And because they're not using headphones, they don't see that I'm already opening EQs and sharpening up the kick drum and I'm panning things and I'm balancing all the guitars. So when they come to listen to the take, it sounds like a Gordon Raphael mixed project already from the first time they play the song. I got a lot of tricks like that.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Well, do you have any final thoughts, any final words for, young aspiring engineers?
Um, Well, in some ways, it's never been easier to record stuff. When I was a kid, I had to borrow someone's 4-track tape recorder and a little mixer and figure out how to make all the symphonic ideas in my head on 4 channels of tape, and it was very messy and very dirty and low fidelity at best. And now you've got, all these tracks in your DAW and you've got microphones and plug-in synthesizers that sound almost as good, in many cases, very, very close to my analog synths. So this is a great time to get busy making music and producing and recording.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Gordon, for talking with me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on.
This is another song that I learned